Shalom and welcome to my home in the old city of Jerusalem. I want to share with you a profound experience that I had last week. I went to see a play. The play was called The Blessings of a Broken Heart. It was the story of Sherry Mandel. It was pretty much, it was based on her book here, The Blessings of a Broken Heart, that she wrote. Sherry is a top writer, a really excellent writer. And to fill you in on the story, the background story, Sherry was typical, nice, normal American Jewish girl, very smart, graduated from an Ivy League college. She came from a secular Jewish background, but she decided at some point to come to Israel to volunteer in a kibbutz. And there she met Seth Mandel, who, like her, had not grown up religious, but had become religious as an adult. They were both in their 20s at this point. And Sherry fell in love with Seth, and they got married. And in marrying Seth, she understood it meant taking on a religious lifestyle, an Orthodox religious lifestyle. She wasn't so much into it. She didn't have a relationship with God, but she didn't love God, but she loved Seth. And so she married him and took it on. And they were for a while in America. They had 4 children, the oldest of whom was Kobe. And then they came back to Israel and settled in Tekoa. One day, when Kobe was 13 years old, he decided to play hooky with his friend, Yosef, and they went hiking in the wadi. A wadi is like a dry riverbed, dry stream bed, right near their home in Tekoa. And Kobe didn't come back that afternoon. He didn't come back that night. Finally, they realized something was very wrong. Search parties went out. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, Sherry got the news that her son was dead. He had been murdered. Apparently had encountered some Arab boys in the wadi. He and his friend Yosef were trapped in a cave. And they were beaten to death in the most brutal way with stones the size of bowling balls mashed into them, and their heads so terribly beaten and brutalized that their bodies could only be identified through DNA testing. So the story of The Blessings of a Broken Heart is the personal story of Sherry Mandel and how she responded to not just the death of her son, but that he died in such a brutal way that, that the last hour of his life was full of fear and pain and just the horror of it, how she dealt with it. And what was so profoundly inspiring about the book, but even more so the play, because the play was drama, 90 minutes of drama. Not all sad and tragic, a lot of humor in the play. I highly recommend the play. I'll tell you at the end how to bring this play to your community, because I think it's really worthwhile doing. What the play is about is Sherry's response to her trauma. And the word response is key here, because in another book that she wrote after The Blessings of a Broken Heart, this book called The Road to Resilience, she says, resilience is not overcoming. Resilience is becoming. Who the person you become as a result of your suffering. Now, thank God, few of us have to go through the kind of trauma that Shari Mendel had to go through, but we all have suffering in our lives. We all have pain. People go through all kinds of painful experiences. It could be an unhappy marriage or a divorce or a chronic illness or a huge financial loss or a rebellious child or all the many, many kinds of deep disappointments, a miscarriage, God forbid, a stillborn. All the kinds of pains that we human beings suffer. And how do we deal with them? Because often our response to such pain and suffering is depression, which is paralyzing, anger at God or at the doctor who didn't diagnose my loved one properly, or this outward anger and inward closing down. But I learned from Shari Mendel, and last broadcast I spoke about heroes. Shari Mendel is one of my heroes. I learned this, and I've made into kind of I made this poster to illustrate this point. We have pain. We all have pain. And usually we see the pain as an effect of a cause. The cause could be, the malpractice of the doctor. The cause could be bad financial advice. The cause could be a spouse that doesn't treat you well. Many, many causes. We focus usually on the cause of our pain, and we see our pain as the effect of a cause. And from Shari Mendel, I learned that instead of seeing pain as an effect of a cause, see your pain as a cause that has an effect. This I know is hard to pinpoint here. Your pain can be a cause that has an effect rather than being the effect of the cause. Focus on the effect of the pain rather than the cause of the pain, because that effect can be not only life-changing, it can be, Sherry says several times, that the idea of resilience, of responding to pain and tragedy in your life, is not to bounce back. It's to bounce forward. It's not to go back to the life you had before. That pain is an opportunity to grow in ways you couldn't have imagined. And of course, as you've heard me say many times, spiritual and personal growth is the very reason why our souls come down into this world. We all have an individual, unique mission in life. But our generic mission is to grow personally and spiritually. So that's exactly what Sherry did. She founded, together with her husband Seth, she founded an organization called the Kobe Mendel Foundation. The first thing they started doing was having Camp Kobe. She realized that just as her remaining 3 children were traumatized by their brother's death, that all siblings of terror victims, all children of terror victims, are totally traumatized. And she made a camp for them. The camp wasn't just have a good time distracted from your suffering and pain. No. The point of the camp was to bring in all kinds of therapeutic modalities, trauma specialists, and work with kids on their level, with drama and other kinds of modalities, therapeutic, to really deal with it. And the fact that they were all together, all of them were in a sense in the same boat. They were all children who had lost a loved one in the immediate family to terror. And they were all together with people who understood them. And someone I think it's in this book, she describes how someone coming to Camp Kobe said they've never been to such a happy place. because like the depths of what they suffered enabled the heights of joy that they could experience. Profound, profound ideas here. And she also started retreats for women, the widows or mothers of terror victims. Bottom line is thousands and thousands of people have been helped profoundly by the Kobe Mandel Foundation. But you know, I've mentioned before that in Judaism, there are 3 relationships. There is what's called Ben Adam La'atzmo, the relationship of a person with himself or herself. That means you have to have a loving, your soul has to have a loving, accepting relationship with the body. The body includes the emotional self. And then there's Ben Adam L'Chavero, which means between a person and another person, which Shari did so amazingly with the Kobe Mandel Foundation. And then there's the 3rd relationship between oneself and God. Before her son's murder, Shari didn't have much of a relationship with God. But after her son's murder, she grappled with that relationship. Yes, she was angry at God. Yes, she talked to God. Yes, she developed an amazing, amazing relationship with God through her suffering. It's like Shari teaches us that sometimes we're faced with some kind of suffering, and all of us, again, we don't have to have the level of suffering that she had to face, but all of us in our own lives have some kind of suffering and pain. And when we experience it, we feel like it's a wall, and we've lost our energy to go forward. We've lost our motivation. We're paralyzed. And Shari teaches us that it's not a wall, it's a door. Push on it, and it will open. So I really recommend that you bring this amazing play. It's called, again, The Blessing of a Broken Heart, that you bring it to your community. You can find it by going on to the website of Theater and Theology. Theater and Theology is a drama troupe that deals with the ultimate issues, like this ultimate issue: good and evil, loving God in the face of tremendous suffering. So, and in fact, this Theater and Theology was founded by Yael Valier, who herself lost a child. So this is like deep things going on here. And you can go onto the website of theaterandtheology.com, theaterandtheology.com, and ask Yael how to bring this play to your community wherever you live. I really recommend it. It is a profound experience. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with the exciting possibility that everything we encounter in our lives, especially the pain in our lives, is an opportunity to grow personally and spiritually in our relationship to other people and our relationship to God. Have a great day.